Today we're making over a dresser that's at least 100 years old. So I'm trying to honor the age of it, and you're getting a little sneak peek in the background of my workshop. You'll want to make sure that you tune in next week for the Show Me Your Workshop Challenge, hosted by me, and lots of other YouTubers will be participating. So I love to see where people work and how they organize their things. So this dresser had some weird things going on. That's where the mirror was. I've never seen anything like that. So that side was missing, that bolt. I don't know whether that bolt was added on later or what. But I thought, well, I'll try to prop it up and use my channel locks, but I couldn't get close enough. So I decided to change my blade on my jigsaw to a metal blade, and I used my jigsaw to shear off that bolt. Was pretty easy. Next, I remove the hardware and get busy prepping this piece. I really couldn't believe how few repairs needed done to this. So I found a piece of newspaper in there that was folded, and the shape of it reminded me of a butterfly. I looked all over it for dates to give me some clues, but there were none. So I used a vacuum to get inside there because it was really dusty inside where it was stored, but you know, I guess it was just kind of preserved. It was actually in an old hotel. So it probably wasn't used for many years, but just got a little dusty. So all the drawers and all the inside of the piece, the carcass, if you will, got swept before they got cleaned with White Lightning, which is Dixie Belle's like TSP type cleaner. So I just keep mine in a spray bottle, or you can dissolve it in water if you like. But you just want to make sure that you rinse it so that you remove any residue that could keep your paint from adhering. I also wash the insides of the drawers as well, and inside the piece. I want to make sure that this is really clean for whoever gets it and takes care of it for the next 100 years. It was really dirty, as you can see. So I think that there's not much paint on there and that it's going to sand really easily, and I'll be able to get right down to that finish. Boy, was I wrong. Whatever paint was on there, whether it's a lead-based paint or whether it was maybe a milk paint since it's so old, it just really was on there. So I tried the sanding, that didn't do anything, and then I tried the carbide scraper. You know, I cannot get the hang of the carbide scraper, and I watch my YouTube flipping friends all the time use them. I'm gonna have to have someone give me some lessons. I try flipping the blade on it all the time, and I just can't seem to get the hang of it. So next I resort to stripper. Now, as I may have mentioned, I just moved into a new spot, so I was a little concerned about the safety of the fumes and everything, so I ended up sanding and sanding and sanding. I started on the drawers and I had pretty good success right off the bat with the drawers. At least it started out that way. The first one was going pretty good. I was using a 40 grit sandpaper. I think the wood is hickory. It's very hard wood. No matter how much sanding I didn't get any of those little swirl marks. I tried to get as close to that little key as I could, and I figured I would finish the rest by hand. So I continue to work on the drawers, and then I finally get to the top. And like I said, it was a long time. I worked and worked. I even blew through one sander. It totally just quit working. So I ended up going for another sander. I'm telling you, it was slow going. I guess this is why I primarily paint. So, you know, when you see those things that say you're not paying me for the cost of the piece or how much I paid for the piece, but all the hours that went into it and all the years that I learned to do it. So there's all the sandpaper I went through. My Galaxy Fit watch at one point said cardio, and then when I slowed down a little bit, it said great workout. So that's how hard that I was going after this sanding. So finally I get it to a point where I can just get some sandpaper and by hand just clean up the little areas that I didn't get. And then I take a finer grit sandpaper and then smooth it out. As I mentioned, there weren't many repairs to do, but I had to fix that hole where I took that bolt out. And then they had some interesting looking drawer stops. They looked like dowels. So I just cut a dowel dowel rod, the same size, and I happened to have, and just used some wood glue and did the same thing exactly as they did. I had never seen that before. So it's on to the fun stuff. I have some Wharf paint, which is silk all-in-one mineral paint, and I'm doing a wash with it on the top where I stained. So I'm using my mister bottle and I'm saturating that surface because I want it really wet. And I also watered down that paint a little bit, and I'm just using my brush and just covering the surface everywhere that I have sprayed and wet the surface down. So this is kind of in lieu of using a stain. It's just a nice soft wash that allows you to see that beautiful grain in the wood. So I do a little section at a time, and then I wipe it back. As you watch me do this process, I'll give you a little commercial break. If you like the products that you see that I'm using, there's an affiliate link in my description box, and you're ordering directly from Dixie Belle, but I get a little kickback and it doesn't cost you any more. That's one way you can support my small business. Another way is to check out my Amazon wish list and that is in the description box as well. I sure do appreciate your support, and sharing and liking and all that good stuff really helps my channel grow. I continue doing the wash on the drawer fronts as well. I painted the rest of the piece of furniture in black sands. That's also a silk all-in-one mineral paint, and here I am doing the second coat. As you can see, the first coat kind of looks a little streaky, and you have to do a scuff sand. So I did sand the rest of the body of the furniture piece as well, lightly, and just it's just a scuff sand that is all you need, just to rough up the surface just a little bit to accept the paint. Looking good. Now it's time for me to embellish it a little bit. I've had some ideas in my mind, and I checked out my transfers, and I'm going to use this one again from Dixie Belle, the Bells and Whistles line, and it's called Eucalyptus and Cotton. It's a really fresh look, and I thought it would be perfect for spring. So I'm cutting apart some of the images. Now I cut that piece out because I'm thinking it's great for the corner, and I even took the backing off of it, but then I changed my mind. Woman's prerogative, right? I hold it in the corner, and I just don't like the way it doesn't have like a branch that it's coming off of, and to me it just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna layer this, and I grab another piece that's got that branch so I can position it so that it's coming out of the corner. That makes more sense to me. So you can be creative and do whatever you want with your transfers. Just to me, it just has to be logical and make a little sense. So I'm applying the transfer, and just a word of caution, I guess, or just advice. So I take my fingernail and just kind of go where the drawers meet. That way I can just kind of, obviously you can pull the drawers out. You don't want to have them in there and then forget about that step. So I actually pulled off a little paint there, if you see that. What I did was I took a piece of the cotton, which had the white backing, and I put it over it because that transfer will protect it. And then I touched up a little bit later. I must not have scuff sanded very well there. Now again, I'm sanding on top of the transfer. I'm using a real light sanding sponge, like a 220 grit, and just going around the edges of the transfer because it softens them and it takes that little halo away. And also the edges where you used your fingernail to cut it so that when you open the drawers, the transfer doesn't rip. I just went over it, that edge, with the sandpaper as well. And here I'm just putting some new knobs on. And these were from TJ Maxx. I think I got the last 2 packages in the store. Something told me to go there. I've seen them in there before. I rarely go in that store. So I was glad that, yesterday was kind of a busy, hectic day, lots of errands, and we're getting ready for the Easter weekend. And so I was happy to be able to find what I was looking for there. So I take Big Mama's Butter in flannel, and I use a big brush, that's the Best Dang brush, and I just use it to refresh the wood on the inside of the drawers. I was thinking of decoupaging or even painting on the inside, but I just like that. It's so pretty, that old wood grain, that I just decided that I would freshen it up. And then the next part is me being me, and a little bit on the weird and crazy side, but on the fronts of the drawers, they had dripped paint. And I don't know why, but I just kind of wanted to keep that. I guess it's kind of an homage to the original paint job that I struggled with so much to remove. So, yeah, like I said, that's just kind of me being weird, knowing that it's 100 years old and just wanting to preserve that much of it. So I'll explain that to the new owner, and if they're not happy with it, then maybe we can paint it for them then. But I think most of the time my buyers like to hear the history of the piece, and they like knowing little details like that, where it came from, and little hidden things like that. Now I'm using Easy Peasy spray wax. You want to shake this stuff until you can't hear it anymore. You can't hear the liquid, and I'm just going over the front of it where the transfers are, and across that the wood, the wash that I did on the drawers, and it seals in the transfer. It really makes it look more vibrant, as well as the paint and the paint wash. On the top, I'm using Dixie Belle's sealer in satin. This is the clear coat in satin. And I'm just brushing it on. I love the way the satin clear coat looks. It's become one of my favorites. It's not super shiny, it's just nice, and it's not flat either. It's just a nice sheen, and it's just an extra protection on the top of a dresser where someone may set a glass or something like that. So you want to make sure that you've sealed in the transfers and also protected the finish. All done, so it's lights out on this one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and check out the finished product. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends? If you haven't subscribed, you'll want to do that so you don't miss anything. Visit us at LaVintageDecor.company, and on Instagram we're LaVintageDecor, and on Facebook we're LaVintageDecor Altoona. Stay well.